Hello and welcome to Miniature Realms. My name's Stuart and welcome to a Black Seas project vlog number 1. For regular viewers of the channel, you'll know that when I start a project I quite like to record a vlog for that given project rather than sort of mixing them all together in different videos. I think that way it helps people find the systems and the periods and the topics that they're after and miss the games they don't like, so to speak. So as following the trend that I've always done, as I'm starting to work on a few ships and starting to delve into Black Seas, I decided to start a project vlog. I think my only other video on the channel at the moment about Black Seas was a bit of a kind of an introductory video for a few people that may not know what the game is, and just to kind of introduce it to the channel really. I'll pop a little link in for that now, though I think most people watching this will know what the game is or may have already seen that video anyway, but it's there if you'd like to see it. And at that stage I was just sitting there with my box and the few extra things that I purchased to balance out the box, which I'd actually had for a few months and not done anything with, and then since then I've been chipping away at it. So as you can see, I've got lots of ships there. I've built all the ships, so I've got the standard starter set, and then I evened out the frigates and the third rates by buying extras, buying a set of third rates and a sprue of third rates and a sprue of frigates. So if I wanted to split the fleet into two, I could have two completely equal forces, and I thought that would be a nice basis to start my collection from. And after that I'll go on and add in some more characterful ships, that kind of thing. But the reason I do these vlogs is because I want your input. I love to have chats in the comments with viewers about what other people have done playing the game, and hopefully I'll get some experienced Black Seas players watching this and chipping in things as well. So the rundown of my completed stuff so far, as you'll see that there's one painted ship here, and we'll have a little bit of a closer look. I wanted to do a test ship for the British fleet, and I wanted to play with the rigging and all of that kind of stuff, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we can be a bit more zoomed in on the ship itself. But I've also, as I said, built the rest of the fleet, and I've got two here primed, ready to go. I'll probably do a painting tutorial on one of those. Again, if you're new to the channel, my day job is a commission painter, so I do quite a lot of painting tutorials on the channel. So if that's your thing, then it's definitely worth looking at some of the other videos. But anyway, other than that, I wanted to build a little bit of scenery, a bit of terrain. Obviously I don't need much for Black Seas, and you'll see a little bit dotted around. I looked at some 3D files, I looked for some STLs. I've only just started 3D printing, but I found a couple of Martello towers, which you'll see on a close-up in a moment. Really small little prints, and those ones I haven't painted, but I have painted a couple which are on the little outcrops of land and islands that I've made. I've also been buying some other bits as well. I've got a pile of MDF, which is a fort, which is sort of a sea-edged fort, which I thought might be quite nice, and it probably rounds off all the terrain I really need, to be honest with you. And I've got these. I don't know how well they're going to show up actually on there, but I do quite like game gadgets and things, especially things that replace cardstock. So we've got a couple of rulers here. We've got another measure with a couple of turning gauges built in, and a couple of sort of wind direction markers and things as well. I don't know how good they are. I haven't used them in a game, but if anyone can think of any other things they'd really recommend, then I'm really open to suggestions at the moment. I've looked at a lot of the MDF card holders and ship recorders. I'm very tempted by those. I'm a bit concerned about how much it'll add up to, but I do like that kind of thing rather than just using the cardstock, as I've already mentioned. I do have a file for a printable one. I just don't know how well that will work, being a large flat thing, if it starts to curve or anything like that, but I might do a test print, and that'll be something to talk about in the next vlog. Thought I'd just zoom in a little bit and have a slightly closer look at these little Martello towers. Extremely simple sculpts. I could have they misprinted slightly a couple of times, and I'm new to printing. I tried a couple of ways of doing it, but the imperfections were so small that, and they are such tiny bits of terrain, I wasn't going to waste the resin just reprinting and reprinting. when I did them straight to the plate, they didn't work very well. When I put them at an angle and did supports, they just sagged slightly on one side at the top, and it's probably just a matter of changing the drying time or something like that. But the settings I've got set up on them at the moment are perfect for some epic scale, some miniatures I've been doing, so I'm printing a lot of those, so I'm going to leave that as it is for now, and I just thought, well, I'll file it down. As I said, extremely small, extremely simple, but I quite like them, and then really basic paint jobs on them, but they came out all right. Just a grey with the airbrush, a little bit of shading using inks and things, and a little bit of texture around the bottom, but they look quite cool when you pop them on a landmass, and they do the job. That's all I really need. So next up, I wanted to quickly get some terrain out of the way so I can focus on the ships, and just something. I've got a big 6x4 mat, and even if I'm only playing a game kind of to one side of it or a small section of it to start with, I just wanted something to maybe put around the edges, even if I'm not really affecting the game, so to speak. Obviously islands and things are used in the game, but it's also nice to have some things just to, as I say, break up that blue and place around the edge. So I made two pieces that are designed with flat edges to fit to the edge of the board, and just little land masses are made out of blue foam, very quickly carved out, flocked on the top. I've added some tufts and things. Obviously those tufts are too big for the scale, but they're just going to be represent some really thick overgrown bushes or something like that, so really high areas of shrub and trees and things, but they look all right for that. So I've done a couple of little sort of island pieces as well with small beach areas, and then there's also just a plain kind of rocky outcrop, could be an island as well. And I've left as it stands at the moment, I've left the Martello towers off, so that depending on what part of the world we're in, I may not want them on there. Obviously if I stuck them down, I could do little pass-ups and things like that, but again, I think the focus is going to be on the ships more than the terrain, and none of this is groundbreaking stuff for people that have made simple terrain out of blue foam before, but I think they look fairly effective on the table. And to end off really what is probably a fairly short first vlog, I just wanted to talk you through the first ship I did and my experiences for those. Now, they're incredibly easy to build, lovely little plastic kits. Really enjoyed how well they went together and how easy they were to clean up, so that was a massive tick. Love working with plastic models where possible, and resin as well, especially when it's a hard resin. So when I look at some of the more characterful ships later on, I'm sure I'd love to get hold of a HMS Victory. Once I've done a few more of these, maybe do a painting tutorial on that. But I do like these plastic ships, they're absolutely fantastic. Now, I was very concerned about the rigging and things like that, but we'll come on to that in a moment. But I painted this, I painted a lot of stuff at smaller scale using, in fact I use contrast paint an awful lot, but I use it as a base and then highlight up afterwards, rather than starting with sort of standard paints as a mid-tone and shading down. So what I tend to do is prime in black and then do a zenithal highlight with an airbrush using white, and that's exactly what I did with these. I started with the deck area, painting that using contrast paints and some inks and things, and then I moved on to the yellow stripe at the sides and on the mast and things, finally ending with contrast black. And then after that I've gone in and highlighted many times after that, and with the contrast, what it tends to give you is your base tone and your first highlight if you use the zenithal, because you've got some natural shadow already built into that. Again, for those of you that are new to the channel and haven't heard me banging on about that method for ages on my epic battles, Napoleonic and American Civil War painting tutorials, when I finally get around to doing a painting tutorial for this game, I will cover that in full. But I'm quite happy with the way it came out. It doesn't need an awful lot of work. The ships themselves paint up very quickly, and I think I could get through them fairly quickly if I put my mind to it. The rigging and adding the sails and things obviously adds a lot of time, and that's not, wasn't a surprise to me. I knew it would be quite an undertaking. Now, the eagle-eyed of you will realise that not all of the rigging is there. I didn't fully follow the official guide. The video that Gabriel did is very, very good. I find it easier to follow that than what's written in the book. And maybe could have done with a few more angles of the pictures where they're describing things. But what I sort of tended to do was try and find ways of cutting down the number of knots and just wrapping it around and carrying it on. And I know that doesn't produce centralised knots always, and then means the lines might be slightly off centre. But that was the balance that I wanted to do, I suppose, for my sanity. I spoke to one of the regular viewers of the channel, John, who messaged me with some pictures of what he did, and that really helped me as well. And I used probably a bit of what he did and a bit of the original version, and I imagine it will change each time I do it, the order I do it. But what I try to do is to start at an area and use one piece of thread to kind of follow a path around, wrapping it around, doing a little knot where I could, and then carrying it onto another stage before having to cut. So there wasn't so many knots and cuts, which I just found a little bit easier than doing, individual pieces between each section quite as much. It just suited me a little bit better. I haven't done the rigging that will go down from here to there, because that would have been a single piece. I don't know whether I regret it or not. On this smaller little brig here, I'm not too worried. And once it's on the table with loads of other ships, it's probably not going to be such an issue. But I feel like I've got enough on there that it looks like it's rigged. And that might be the way to go. I actually made an attempt to start the rigging on the bowsprit at the front, the stuff that goes to the sides, but then didn't do it on this small one. When I started adding it, I was struggling to get it on the edges. I may leave that just for the larger ships and the more specialised ones. I will make a decision, but I think I'm going to leave that off all of these brigs, and I will reassess it again on the frigates. And on the third rate, I think I'll try and add it. So it might be a little bit of inconsistency across them all. I found that the sails went on fine when you've got on the masts. I did find it slightly more tricky on the on your forward lines here, just to get it to match up, especially as that second line there wasn't quite as taut as I'd want it to be. So it's a little bit messy in places. I did use my super glue propellant a little bit. The only problem with that is it does turn the super glue a bit white, but I was able to go back in and touch that up and repaint it black afterwards, and it definitely helped secure it. I did realise as I went to add this back flag here that I haven't put the bit of rigging between those two. I don't know the proper terms, someone will tell me, but those two parts of the mast there. So I did just cut a very short piece, stuck the flag on first, and then super glued it to the top, fixed it, and then the bottom, and that seemed to work as well. I've watched quite a few tutorials, one where all of the string is kind of made solid using glue and then cut into relevant lengths and stuck on. I quite like it. I might do that for areas like this, but I wouldn't want to do it for all of it. So for me, it's about finding the halfway house and a bit of a mix, but I think it's quite good. I did struggle with the little flag at the top there, being so thin and getting it to match up. So what I ended up doing was only cutting half of it really and just chopping off here, and so there's only one side to save trying to get the two really super thin parts to match up. But if anyone's got any tips and things that they manage with flags, I'd like to know. Putting flags on normally isn't an issue, but I just find even with my hands, and I'm not particularly big fingered, but even with my hands I found it a little bit tricky. Well, I won't keep you all too much more. Thanks very much for watching the first vlog. I don't set a time scale of when the next one will be, but it wouldn't be too long. I do have lots of other wargaming projects as well on the channel, so I tend to kind of swap around a little bit. I think I'm intending to make this a bit of a palette cleanser every now and then, do a ship or two ships every couple of weeks or so, and I'll try and sort of build them up from French and British, and so that I can get to the stage where I can play some short games with them as soon as possible. Well, thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, give us a like. If you haven't done already, subscribe to the channel. It really does support the channel, and it lets me know that you're enjoying what I'm doing, if you are. You can catch me on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook and on Twitter. There's links all in the show description. You can check out all the other stuff I do, so my painting commission work, but also I share all of my sort of personal hobby via the channel and those channels as well. Take care, and I'll catch you all soon.